Got a new bit I want to use to make these rabbits on my top, bottom, and fronts and backs. So it's a carbide cutting bit, or carbide insert bit, that's got 2 cutters and 2 chippers with replaceable carbide inserts, and they're also, you can rotate them. So the life of the bit is, 4 times. There's no tear out whatsoever there. None. That is beautiful. That bit went through that like butter. What a nice cut. Well, it fits great, but I forgot one thing. When I do these front and backs, I also needed a groove in there for the bottom, and one on the top that the lid slides into. So I'm going to have to reset my 1/4" bit up and do that. But for now, I'm gonna, as long as I've got this set up, I'm gonna run these rabbits here and here, and then basically they'll be done. I probably should do the top while I'm at it, and lower that bit just a little bit to get a little tighter fit here. Anyway, should have done it all at one time. There's a dry fit, and it goes together beautifully. Little glue to pull it together. I mean, a little clamp pressure and some glue, and that will be a very nice box. Now I cut this just a little bit strong, so I can't slip the lid in just yet, but I'll dial that in. I'll sneak up on that so it's nice and flush with this groove on both sides. It looks like maybe 1/32 of an inch I need to take off of there. And that will be my new home for my Skil Saw. It does go together, and it does get a little snug down there at the bottom. I took the clamps off so I can get this thing out, but it slides freely until about the last 1.5 inches or so, which is really good. So if I were to put that back together, you can see how that's going to be just fine, and then it gets a little bit snug right here, and the lip is going to need a little chamfer on it to get it started, but then it'll snug right up. So I'm ready to glue this up. The one thing I am going to do though before I do that is I'm going to cut a handhold in this, just because I use this thing so often. It'll be a lot easier to pick it up that way. So before I glue this up, and I want to like I said earlier, cut a handhold in here. I want to reinforce that because I know this is 1/2 inch and it's going to probably hold up fine. But I took this piece of 4-inch scrap, cut it to the length, and I'm going to put that in there behind it. And then I'll cut my relief hole here, and that'll give that extra strength, so that it'll take that abuse of grabbing it and and resisting breaking out up here. This top 1 inch. I think that'll be a little too flexible, and this'll give it that added strength. All right, a couple of things here. My drawing, you know, I measured off of this, and you can see here, this is where the back of the saw guard, that spring-loaded saw guard, it was hitting the cardboard, and cardboard is a lot more forgiving than plywood, and this is kind of taken a bit of a not a beating, but it's you can see that it's been relieved through the years by that thing pushing on it. So instead of doing measurements, which I did, I took my saw and laid it on my plywood base that I've got cut, and let me show you the difference between reality and measuring and cutting. So here's my saw. This is how it will sit in the box. You'll want it, you know, fairly tight to the front, and then you'll want your back piece back here. This is where you want those edge pieces to meet it. I haven't cut them yet, but I'm just going to cut some strips and lay them in here to make this corner. So I've marked the base here and on the back, and then as I looked at it, it just didn't look right to me, but you can see that as this comes down, it appears that it's going to extend past this line. And the way I found that out is I put it on the base again like this, flush here on my line, and made a mark through this opening, which is what matches the cardboard, this opening right here. So I made a mark a little further back, and a little further back from here as well, because there's no need for this thing to go, although I have to take into account that there's going to be a blade in there. It's a good thing I just thought about that just now. So my blade will extend out past here. So I do have to come out this far. So all I'm going to do though is I'm going to leave this front line pretty much alone, but I'm going to bring the back line back about half an inch here. You can see this is the real world mark. This is my measured mark. So I'm going to bring it back, and then the other thing I checked was this line. Right here, and that appears to be okay. So this is 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches. This was 7 3/4, but now I believe I'm going to make it 8 1/4. You know, add a half an inch just to give this some room back here, and then I think I'll be okay. Alright, here's my final layout. You can see I moved this line back. There's that shadow line right there. I erased that. I moved that line back about 5/8 because I did put my saw blade in, and I want to leave as much material as I can. And then I moved the back line back about a half an inch. You can see there's that shadow line as well. So I'm just going to take a jigsaw or drill some holes, and then jigsaw this out, and that'll be that. Then I'll make these pieces that are going to create that relief for the base, and then we just have to you know, make the standoffs to raise it up from the bottom of the box. Alright, now it's just a matter of connecting the dots here. I'm just going to use my jigsaw for that. That looks good. And my lines are good. These lines are good, so I can glue those pieces on now.